The alarm bells screamed through the bridge of the U.S. Defiance like wounded animals. Admiral Sarah Chun ran through the metal corridors, her boots hitting the floor with sharp sounds. Behind her, other officers followed, their faces pale with fear. "What do we have?" Chun asked as she reached the main control room. The large screen showed nothing but empty space where Kepler Station should be. Lieutenant Torres looked up from his computer. His hands shook as he spoke. "Admiral, we lost contact with Kepler Station 6 hours ago. We sent 3 scout ships to check. Only one came back." Chun felt ice in her stomach. Kepler Station was home to 800,000 people. Most of them were families with children. It was humanity's first real home among the stars, built on a planet 30 light years from Earth. "Show me what the scout ship found," Chun said. Main screen flickered. Then the image appeared, and everyone in the room went silent. Kepler Station was gone. Not destroyed by bombs or fire. It was simply not there anymore. Where the great city once stood, only black glass remained. The ground looked like it had been melted and then frozen again. "There's more, Admiral," Torres said. His voice was barely a whisper. The scout ship found this. A new image appeared on the screen. It was a metal box, about the size of a briefcase. Strange symbols covered its surface. The symbols glowed with a cold blue light. "It's a message." "Box," said Dr. Park, the ship's science officer. "The aliens left it for us to find." Chun stared at the box. She had heard stories about the hegemony, the group of 3 alien species that controlled much of this part of space. They were old, powerful, and they did not like new species trying to expand. "Play it," Chun ordered. The box opened by itself. A hologram appeared above it. The image showed a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. Its eyes were black and cold. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English. "Humans of Earth," the creature said. "I am High Commander Zethkar of the Hegemony. Your species has been warned before about expanding beyond your home system. You did not listen." The image changed. Now it showed Kepler Station as it was before. Children played in the parks. Families walked through the streets. People worked in the fields and buildings. "Your colony at Kepler was home to 800,000 souls," the alien continued. "We made sure to count them all before we began." Chun's blood turned cold. She knew what was coming. The image changed again. Now it showed ships in the sky. Above Kepler Station. They were huge and dark, with weapons that glowed like stars. The ships began to fire, but they did not fire on the military buildings first. They fired on the schools that Chun watched in horror as the first school exploded in flames. Children ran screaming from the building, but more energy beams cut them down. The aliens were systematic. They hit every school in the city within the first 10 minutes. "We started with your young," Zethkar said in the recording. "We wanted them to understand what was happening. We wanted them to call for their parents." The image showed more destruction. Families trying to run to underground shelters, only to find the shelters sealed shut. The aliens had planned everything. They knew exactly how to cause the most pain. Chun's nephew Tommy had been on Kepler Station. He was only 8 years old. He loved to draw pictures of spaceships and aliens. He always said he wanted to meet aliens someday and be friends with them. "The process took 6 hours, the alien continued. "We could have finished it in 6 minutes, but we wanted your people to suffer. We wanted them to know that their expansion into our territory has consequences." The recording showed the final moments. The last humans hiding in a basement, sending desperate messages to Earth. A mother holding her baby, singing a lullaby as the ceiling began to melt above them. A father recording a goodbye message for his wife back on Earth. Then silence. Then, the black glass. "This is what happens to species that do not know their place," Zethkar said. "Your expansion into space ends now. You will recall all your ships. You will abandon all plans for new colonies. You will stay in your home system like the primitive creatures you are. The alien leaned closer to the camera. If you do not obey, we will do to Earth what we did to Kepler Station. Your home world has 8 billion people. We will make sure. Each one of them dies slowly. The recording ended. The bridge was completely silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Chun stared at the empty screen. She thought about Tommy and his drawings. She thought about all the families who would never come home. She thought about the alien's cold, satisfied voice as he described the murder of children. "Admiral?" Torres asked softly. "What are your orders?" Chun was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm and steady, too calm. "Send a message to Earth Command," she said. "Tell them we received the hegemony's demands. Should we recommend compliance, Admiral?" Asked Dr. Park. Chun turned to look at her officers. Her eyes were different now, harder, colder. "Tell Earth Command that the hegemony has made their position very clear," she said. "And tell them that humanity's response is being prepared." She looked back at the screen showing the ruins of Kepler Station. "They wanted to send us a message about what happens when we expand into their territory," Chun said quietly. "It's time we sent them a message about what happens when they murder our children." 6 months had passed since the message from Kepler Station reached Earth. The world had changed, but not in the way the aliens expected. President Maria Santos stood in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the White House. Around the table sat the most powerful people on Earth: military leaders, scientists, business owners, and politicians. All of them had the same look in their eyes, the same cold anger that had been growing since they saw the recordings from Kepler Station. "The hegemony believes we have accepted their demands," Santos said. "Our ships have returned to Earth space. Our colonies have been abandoned." To their watching eyes, we looked defeated. General Harrison nodded. "Our intelligence shows their patrol. Ships are relaxed. They think the threat is over. They think humans learned their lesson." Santos looked around the table. "Dr. Webb, give us your report." Dr. Marcus Webb was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. But when he spoke, his voice was strong. "The Prometheus Protocol is ahead of schedule. We have converted 47 deep ocean facilities for the project. Every major corporation on Earth is now part of the program." "What about the families?" asked General Harrison. Webb's face became sad for a moment. "We have over 2 million volunteers. People who lost family at Kepler Station. People who want to make sure this never happens again. They understand what the process involves." Santos remembered the first time Webb explained the Prometheus Protocol. It was not like anything humans had ever tried before. It was not about building bigger ships or better weapons. It was about changing what it meant to be human. "The volunteers go through the transformation process in stages," Webb continued. "First, we enhance their bodies. Stronger bones, better reflexes, the ability to survive in space without a suit. Then we connect their minds to computer systems. They can control a ship just by thinking about it." "And the final stage?" Santos asked, though she already knew the answer. "The final stage removes their need for normal life support. They can survive in a state between life and death for years. They feel no pain, no fear, no doubt. They become perfect weapons." Admiral Chun had been quiet during the meeting. She was different now than she was 6 months ago. The woman who once smiled and joked with her crew was gone. In her place was something harder, colder. "The aliens made one mistake," Chun said. "They think humans are like them. They think we follow rules. They think we have limits." She stood up and walked to the large screen on the wall. It showed a map of human space. Red dots marked the locations where hegemony ships patrolled. "They study us like we study animals in a zoo," Chun continued. "They think they understand us. They think killing our children would make us afraid. They were wrong. Santos looked at the reports on her tablet. The numbers were incredible. Every shipyard on Earth was working at full capacity. Every factory had been converted to build parts for the project. Millions of people worked day and night, all with the same goal. "The cargo ships are almost ready," said Director Kim from the Space Construction Agency. From the outside, they look like normal freight vessels. Old, slow, barely holding together. The aliens won't see them as threats. "How many ships?" Santos asked. 12,000 in the first wave. Each one carries 5,000 volunteers. Santos did the math in her head. 60 million people, all volunteers. All transformed by the Prometheus Protocol. All carrying the same message of revenge. Dr. Webb brought up new images on the screen. They showed the inside of one of the converted ships. It looked like a tomb. Thousands of beds arranged in rows. In each bed lay a person who no longer looked completely human. Their skin was pale and cold. Tubes connected them to the ship's systems. Their eyes were closed, but sensors showed their minds were active. They were dreaming of Kepler Station. They were dreaming of alien children screaming. Each volunteer is connected to the ship's navigation, weapons, and life support, Webb explained. They don't need a crew. They don't need food or air or water. They are the ship. What about communication? General Harrison asked. They can speak to each other across space instantly. Their minds are linked. If you hurt one, they all feel it. If you kill one, they all remember it. Santos looked at Admiral Chun. "Are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back." Chun's face showed no emotion. "The aliens wanted to teach us about consequences. It's time we taught them." The meeting ended and people began to leave. Santos stayed behind with Chun and Dr. Webb. "Maria," Chun said, using the president's first name for the first time in months. "My nephew Tommy was 8 years old. He drew me a picture before he left for Kepler Station. It showed humans and aliens shaking hands, being friends." Chun pulled out a piece of paper from her pocket. It was a child's drawing, creased and worn from being folded and unfolded many times. "The aliens burned that dream," Chun said. "They burned it along with every child on Kepler Station. So now we're going to burn them." Webb looked uncomfortable. "Admiral, the volunteers understand they might not survive this. The transformation process ... it changes them. They might not be completely human anymore when it's over." Chun folded the drawing and put it back in her pocket. "The aliens already took our humanity when they murdered our children. Now we're just returning the favor." Far above them, in the shipyards orbiting Earth, workers put the finishing touches on the first cargo ships. To anyone watching from space, they looked like normal freight vessels. Slow, old, harmless. But inside each ship, 5,000 transformed humans lay sleeping, dreaming of revenge. Their minds were connected to every system, every weapon, every piece of technology. They had become something new, something the aliens had never seen before, something that would make the hegemony wish they had never heard of a species called humanity. The cargo ships began to move toward the edge of Earth's solar system. Slowly, quietly, like merchants heading to market. The aliens watched and saw nothing to worry about. They had no idea that death was coming for them. Commander Zefkar stood on the bridge of his patrol ship, watching the screens that showed human space. It had been exactly 1 year since the lesson at Kepler Station. The humans had learned their place, just as he knew they would. "Sir," said his second officer, a creature with 6 eyes and blue skin, "we're detecting movement from the human home system." Zefkar looked at the display with mild interest. "Show me." The screen lit up with dozens of small dots moving away from Earth. They moved slowly, like old cargo ships struggling with heavy loads. "Probably moving supplies between their inner planets," Zefkar said. The humans are trying to make the best of their cage. His communication officer, a tall alien with gray skin like his own, spoke up. Sir, we're getting reports from other patrol groups. They're seeing similar movements throughout human space. Zethkar frowned. That was unusual. How many ships? Several thousand, sir. They appear to be old freight vessels. Very slow, no weapons that we can detect. Zethkar thought about this. The humans had shown no signs of resistance for a full year. Their military ships had returned to Earth. Their colonies were empty. These cargo ships were probably just civilians trying to salvage what they could from their abandoned outposts. Keep monitoring them, he ordered. But don't interfere unless they try to leave human space. 3 days later, the situation changed. Sir. The communication officer's voice was urgent. The human ships just accelerated. All of them, at the same time. Zethkar rushed to the main screen. The slow-moving cargo ships were now traveling at speeds that should have been impossible for such old vessels. That's not possible, said the second officer. Those ships are too old and heavy to move that fast. Check their engine signatures, Zethkar ordered. Sir, that's the strange part. We're not detecting any engines at all. No heat, no radiation, no fuel consumption. It's like they're being pushed by something we can't see. Zethkar felt the first touch of worry. Where are they going? The navigation officer worked quickly at his station. They're spreading out, sir. Different groups are heading to different star systems. But sir, none of those systems have anything valuable in them. That made no sense. If the humans were planning some kind of desperate attack, they would target important hegemony worlds or supply lines. These ships were heading to empty systems, mining outposts, small research stations. Life signs? Zethkar asked. That's another strange thing, sir. We're detecting no life aboard any of the ships. They appear to be flying themselves. Zethkar stared at the display. Thousands of human ships moving without engines, carrying no crew, heading to worthless targets. It felt wrong, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Contact High Command, he ordered. Tell them we need instructions. The response came back within an hour. High Command was not worried. The humans were probably trying to salvage equipment from their old outposts before the hegemony claimed them. Empty ships made sense if they were going to load up with salvaged materials. Continue monitoring, the message said. Do not engage unless they enter core hegemony space. But as the days passed, more strange reports came in. The human ships had reached their targets. Mining Station Alpha 7 reported that a human cargo ship had docked with them. Then all communication with Alpha 7 stopped. Research Outpost Delta 12 sent a distress call saying human ships were approaching. Then silence. Supply Depot Gamma 3 reported strange signals coming from human vessels in their area. Then nothing. Sir, the communication officer said, his voice shaking. We've lost contact with 17 different installations. All of them reported human ships in their area right before we lost contact. Zethkar stood up from his command chair. This was not salvage operations. This was something else entirely. Get me a direct link to Research Outpost Theta 9, he ordered. They're the closest to one of the human ships. The screen flickered and an alien face appeared. It was Dr. Kellen, a scientist Zethkar had worked with before. Commander Zethkar. Dr. Kellen looked relieved. Thank the ancestors you called. There's a human ship approaching our station. It's been sitting there for 6 hours, not moving, not responding to our signals. Can you see inside it? Zethkar asked. We tried scanning it, but the results don't make sense. There are thousands of life forms aboard, but they're not alive. Not exactly. The scanner shows them as being in some kind of suspension, but their brain activity is off the charts. Zethkar felt ice in his stomach. Get your people out of there, now. What? But Commander, it's just one old cargo ship. We have defensive systems, we have guards. The screen went white, then black. Then nothing. Dr. Kellen? Zethkar called. Theta 9, respond. Only silence came back. Zethkar turned to his crew. Every face showed the same fear he was feeling. Send an emergency message. To all hegemony forces, he ordered. The humans are not salvaging, they're attacking. All stations are to go to maximum alert. But even as he gave the order, Zethkar knew it was too late. The human ships were already at their targets, already doing whatever terrible thing they had come to do. His second officer looked up from his station. Sir, we're getting more reports. Station after station going silent. But sir, the pattern doesn't make sense. They're not hitting our strongest bases or our most important facilities. They're hitting random targets all across our territory. Zethkar stared at the tactical display. Red X marks showed where they had lost contact with hegemony installations. The pattern looked like a disease spreading through their space. Sir, the communication officer said quietly. High Command is asking for a full report. They want to know what's happening. Zethkar looked at the growing number of red marks on his screen. Dozens of installations gone silent. Thousands of hegemony citizens with no word from them. Tell High Command, he said slowly, that I think the humans just declared war. And I don't think they're fighting it the way we expected. As if summoned by his words, a new alarm began to sound. The navigation officer's voice was high with panic. Sir, human ships just appeared on our sensors. 3 of them, approaching. From different directions. How did they get so close without us detecting them? I don't know, sir. They just appeared. Zethkar looked at the approaching ships on his screen. They looked like the same old cargo vessels he had been dismissing for days. But now he understood that their harmless appearance was a lie. All weapons, target those ships, he ordered. Sir, his weapons officer said, we're trying, but the targeting systems can't lock on. It's like the ships aren't really there. The human vessels continued their approach. Slow, steady, inevitable. Zethkar finally understood what the humans had done. They had not built better weapons or faster ships. They had built something far worse. They had built ghosts. And those ghosts were coming for revenge. The first human ship docked with Zethkar's patrol vessel without asking permission. The massive cargo bay doors opened with a sound like breaking bones, and something walked out that had once been human. It moved like a person, but wrong. Too smooth, too precise. Its skin was pale white like ice, and tubes ran from its neck to a small device on its chest. Its eyes were completely black, with no white parts at all. I am Michael Torres, it said in a voice that sounded like it came from far away. I was a teacher on Kepler Station. I taught 2nd grade. My students were 7 years old. Zethkar's security team raised their weapons, but the creature that had been Michael Torres did not seem to notice. Your people killed my students first, Michael continued. They burned Sarah and Tommy and Lisa and all the others. They screamed for me to help them, but I couldn't. Stay back. One of the guards shouted. Michael tilted his head like he was listening to something no one else could hear. My friends are telling me about your family, Commander Zethkar. You have 3 children on the home world, 2 daughters and a son. Their names are Vex, Kira, and Zethmal. Zethkar felt his blood turn cold. That information was classified. No human should know those names. How do you know that? He demanded. Michael smiled, but it was not a happy smile. We learned about information gathering from you. We learned about causing pain from you. We learned about killing children from you. More shapes moved in the darkness of the cargo ship. Hundreds of them, all moving with the same wrong smooth walk. All with the same black eyes. The difference, Michael said, is that we're much better students than you expected. The lights on Zethkar's ship began to flicker. The air started to smell strange, like metal and death. "We're not here to destroy your ship," Michael explained. "We're here to borrow it, and we're here to borrow you." Before anyone could react, the pale humans moved faster than anything should be able to move. Zethkar saw his guards fall, but not dead. They were caught, held by hands that were stronger than metal. "Don't worry," Michael said as more human things poured onto the ship. "This won't hurt much. We need you alive for what comes next." Similar scenes were happening all across hegemony space. The human cargo ships were not trying to destroy military targets. They were taking them over, converting them, turning them into something new. On the hegemony homeworld, High Command watched the reports with growing horror. General Vextar, the supreme military leader, stared at the screens showing their territory. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked. "We haven't lost any ships, sir," his aide replied. "That's the problem. They're still there. They're still moving. But they're not ours anymore." "Explain." "The humans board our vessels. They take the crew alive. Then the ships start attacking other hegemony targets. But sir, the attack patterns don't make sense. They're not trying to win a war. They're trying to spread fear." General Vextar looked at the tactical display. Red marks showed ships that had been taken by the humans. The pattern was spreading like a virus through their fleet. "What are they doing with our people?" The aide's face went pale. "We intercepted some communications, sir. The humans are changing them, using some kind of technology to alter their minds. Then they're sending them back to us." "Back to us?" "Yes, sir. Yesterday, a transport ship arrived at Base Cora 7 with 50 hegemony soldiers aboard. They were our people, but they were different. They moved like the humans, talked like the humans. They convinced the base commander to let them inside. And then Base Cora 7 went silent 6 hours later." General Vextar felt sick. The humans were not just taking their ships and people. They were turning them into weapons against their own kind. "What about our allies?" he asked. "The Syndicate and the Collective?" His aide looked even more worried. "That's another problem, sir. The humans are sending different messages to each of our allies. They're telling the Syndicate that we betrayed them. They're telling the Collective that the Syndicate is planning to attack them. That's impossible. Our allies know we wouldn't. Sir, the messages are coming from our own communication systems, from ships with our own people aboard. How can our allies tell what's real anymore?" The truth was worse than General Vextar realized. The humans had studied the 3 species of the hegemony for over a year. They knew exactly how to destroy the alliance that had ruled this part of space for centuries. They sent forged messages about secret weapon deals. They staged fake attacks using captured hegemony ships. They spread rumors about betrayal and hidden alliances. Within weeks, the 3 species that had worked together for generations were pointing weapons at each other instead of at the humans. But the worst part was still coming. On a small farming world called Hexna Prime, families were going about their normal lives when human ships appeared in the sky. But these ships did not attack the military bases or the government buildings. They landed in the neighborhoods where children played. The creatures that came out of the ships looked like a mixture of human and hegemony. They had been hegemony soldiers once, but the humans had changed them. Now they moved like the pale humans, with the same black eyes and smooth walk. They gathered the children in the town square. All of them. Every single child on the planet. Then they started broadcasting on every communication channel in hegemony. "Space, people of the hegemony," said a voice that had once belonged to Commander Zethkar. "You killed our children to teach us a lesson. Now we're going to teach you the same lesson." The broadcast showed thousands of alien children, scared and crying, surrounded by the human-changed creatures. "We could kill them quickly," Zethkar's voice continued. "But you didn't kill our children quickly. You made them suffer. You made Them call for their parents. General Vextar watched the broadcast in his command center. He saw his own people, changed by human technology, holding weapons over innocent children. Now your children will call for their parents too, the broadcast continued. And just like our children, no one will be able to help them. The screaming started then. Not just from the children, but from every parent watching the broadcast across hegemony space. But the humans were not done. This is just the beginning, said another voice. This one belonged to Dr. Sarah Martinez, who had been a pediatric doctor. On Kepler Station, we're going to visit every world you control. We're going to take every child you have. And we're going to make sure you understand exactly how it felt to lose ours. The broadcast ended, but the message was clear. The humans were no longer fighting a war. They were delivering a plague of revenge that would spread to every corner of hegemony space. General Vextar looked around his command center. His officers stared at the screens with horror and fear. Sir, one of them whispered, what do we do? Vextar thought about the human cargo ships spreading through their territory like a disease. He thought about his own people being changed into weapons against him. He thought about the children screaming on Hexna Prime. Send a message to all our remaining forces, he said quietly. Tell them to prepare for evacuation. Evacuation, sir. But this is our territory, our home. Vextar looked at the tactical display one more time. Most of it was now red, showing areas under human control. Not anymore, he said. The humans have turned our own people against us. They've destroyed our alliance with the other species. And now they're coming for our children. He paused, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. We taught them that actions have consequences, he said. Now they're teaching us the same lesson. 2 years after Kepler Station burned, Admiral Sarah Chun stood in the ruins of the hegemony capital city. The great towers that had once reached toward the stars were now broken stumps of metal and stone. The air smelled like smoke and fear. Behind her, the pale figures that had once been human moved through the destruction with perfect silence. They were no longer quite human, but they were no longer quite machine either. They were something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Chun walked through what had been the hegemony's most important nursery. Thousands of alien children had played here once, learning and growing under the care of their families. Now the playground equipment was twisted metal, and the bright colors had faded to gray. She stopped at a small crater in the ground. This was where the humans had placed their final weapon. Not a bomb or a missile, but something much worse. They had broadcast the screams of dying alien children on every frequency in the galaxy, just as the hegemony had done with human children. 2 years ago, Admiral, said a voice behind her. Chun turned to see Michael Torres, the former teacher from Kepler Station. His black eyes showed no emotion, but Chun knew he was connected to thousands of other human machines across the galaxy. Through him, she could speak to them all. Is it finished? She asked. The hegemony military is destroyed, Michael replied. Their 3 species are fighting each other now. The Syndicate believes the Collective betrayed them. The Collective thinks we are really Syndicate weapons. The core hegemony race is fleeing to the outer systems. Chun nodded. It had taken 2 years, but the alliance that had ruled this part of space for centuries was finally broken. What about their civilian populations? Most have evacuated to refugee camps on neutral worlds. The ones who stayed... Michael paused. They have learned to fear the sound of human engines. Chun looked around the destroyed capital one more time. Once, this had been the center of an empire that controlled hundreds of worlds. Now it was a graveyard, populated only by the hybrid creatures that humanity had become. Begin the final broadcast, she ordered. Michael's eyes flickered as he connected to the communication systems that the humans now controlled across the galaxy. Every ship, every station, every world would receive the message. Chun walked to the center of the ruined city and looked up at the recording device that floated in the air above her. She thought about Tommy and his drawing of humans and aliens being friends. She thought about the 800,000 people who had died on Kepler Station. She thought about what humanity had become in their quest for revenge. The recording device began to transmit. To every species watching this message, Chun began, her voice calm and steady. My name is Admiral Sarah Chun of Earth. 2 years ago, the hegemony murdered 800,000 human civilians to teach us about staying in our place. Today, we have finished teaching them about consequences. The camera showed the destruction around her. Broken buildings, abandoned vehicles, the remains of a civilization that had thought itself untouchable. The hegemony believed that killing our children would make us afraid. They believed that showing us their power would make us obedient. They were wrong. Chun began walking through the ruins as she spoke. The camera followed her, showing the pale human machines that moved like ghosts through the destroyed city. They taught us that mercy is a luxury we could not afford. They taught us that in this galaxy, only the strong survive. They taught us that actions have consequences. She stopped at a memorial wall where the names of hegemony leaders had once been carved in gold. Now the gold was gone, and human names covered the stone instead. The names of everyone who had died on Kepler Station. We are no longer the species that sent peaceful messages to the stars, hoping to make friends. We are no longer the species that believed all life was sacred. You killed that species when you murdered our children. Chun's voice grew colder as she continued, what stands before you now is evolution itself. We have become something new, something that does not forgive, something that does not forget, something that ensures no one ever again makes the mistake of harming human children. The camera panned across the city, showing the full extent of the destruction. Entire neighborhoods had been leveled. The great spaceport where alien families had once traveled to distant worlds was now a field of twisted metal. The hegemony's military has been destroyed. Their alliance has been shattered. Their people flee before us like animals before a fire. This is what happens when you threaten humanity's future. Chun stopped walking and looked directly into the camera. But we are not finished. We are never finished. Every ship you see moving through space might carry our hybrid warriors. Every message you receive might come from minds we have converted to our cause. Every stranger who arrives at your world might be carrying our gift of transformation. Behind her, more human machines emerged from the ruins. Hundreds of them, then thousands, all moving with the same perfect silence, all connected to the same vast network of transformed minds. We have learned to be patient. We have learned to wait. We have learned to become exactly what this galaxy taught us to be. Chun pulled out a piece of paper from her pocket. It was Tommy's drawing, now worn and faded from 2 years of carrying it everywhere. My nephew drew a picture once of humans and aliens being friends. The hegemony burned that dream along with everything else on Kepler Station, so we burned them in return. She let the paper fall to the ground among the ashes of the alien capital. To every species listening to this message, understand this. Humanity is no longer asking for peace. We are no longer requesting friendship. We are no longer seeking a place among the civilized races of the galaxy. The camera pulled back to show Chun standing alone among the ruins, surrounded by thousands of the hybrid creatures that had once been human. We have become something else entirely. We are the consequence of your actions. We are the price of murdering human children. We are the future you created when you chose to make us your enemy. Chun's final words echoed across the galaxy as every ship, every station, every world received her message. Humanity is coming, and we are bringing the same mercy you showed our children. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations that had never heard of the hegemony or Kepler Station received reports of strange ships appearing at their borders. Ships that moved without engines. Ships that carried no living crew. Ships that broadcast a simple message on all frequencies. Flee. Some species tried to fight. Their ships and weapons vanished into the darkness, converted into tools for humanity's expanding network of hybrid warriors. Some species tried to negotiate. They received recordings of children screaming on Kepler Station, followed by silence. Species simply ran. They abandoned their worlds and fled to the furthest corners of space, carrying stories of the plague ships and the creatures that had once been human. Back on Earth, President Santa stood in the same underground meeting room, where the Prometheus Protocol had been planned. The table was empty now. All the leaders who had authorized the project were gone, transformed into the hybrid warriors that enforced humanity's new place in the galaxy. She looked at the reports, streaming in from across known space. Entire sectors evacuated. Ancient civilizations fleeing their homeworlds. The greatest empires in the galaxy collapsing rather than face what humanity had become. It worked, she said to the empty room. God help us all, it actually worked. Outside, Earth continued its transformation into a fortress factory. New ships launched every day, carrying more hybrid warriors to distant stars. The planet that had once sent messages of peace now manufactured only weapons and revenge. Humanity had learned its lesson about consequences, and now they were teaching that lesson to the rest of the galaxy, one burning world at a time. The age of human expansion had begun, and it would not stop until every species in the galaxy understood the price of threatening human children.